Yo, what's going on, beautiful people? Today I'm going to be talking about one of the most common things I get asked about on stream or just in general, and that's going to be practice. Specifically, how much you should practice, but I'm going to get into a whole lot of other things too, such as analysis and friendlies time. And I think these things can be applied well beyond melee. For example, I'm going to be referencing basketball. One study a little later on, and those players can watch their own footage as well. So I'm also going to be referencing a chess study too. So I'm going to try and make this relevant for as many different people and make this interesting for, of course, the core melee audience too. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's define to start off what I mean by practice. So I'm referring to playing by yourself. You're usually doing a repetitive action when you're playing by yourself, but it doesn't have to be. Um, I'll also be referring to practice as what's known in the FGC as labbing, which is testing out ideas or experimenting with something such as, does this move beat that move? How do I combo better here? Stuff like that. And for analysis, what I'll be defining that as is watching videos of myself or other people to get ideas and see patterns. And then for friendlies, I'll be referring to friendlies as you're playing opponents outside of tournaments or outside of conditions where there are any stakes, and trying to learn, or you're trying to get something out of that. But yeah, there are also people who are going to lump all of that together in the word practice. I'm going to try not to do that here, just so you guys can know exactly what I'm referring to. And hopefully, if I'm doing my job right, I will be specifically saying I will group all of them into practice if I need to. But yeah, I think with that groundwork laid, I think we can go ahead and actually get started talking about practice here. Yeah, there are a lot of theories about how best to prepare for competition. Some people think you need to play others primarily to get exposure to ideas and ignore most of the rest of it. Some people think you need to mainly solo practice until you can be fast enough, and then you don't really need to do it anymore. Some people think you can substitute practice by visualizing yourself practicing. So a lot of interesting theories out there. One player even linked me a study saying it's actually better to do two smaller practice sessions instead of one larger one. All these theories that are out there can be confusing, especially for new players who aren't used to trying to practice competitively, because these things can contradict one another. So what I'm going to try and do is try and help you guys make sense of all of these sorts of factors. And I think what I'm going to start by doing is simplifying and saying that I think that friendlies, practice, and analysis are all valuable, and they should be done by every player. Many super new players, like if you're day one, through maybe like a month of playing, it might be best to focus on practice and maybe do some friendlies to apply a little bit. But before long, it all pretty much becomes necessary. But yeah, I think players would be better off doing all of those things, but I also think doing all of these things help one another. And I want to give you guys an example of how that can work. So let's take maybe a little bit of a newer player. First off, you practice your basic techniques and you build up some speed. You're able to do things faster and faster. And you want to see if you can do these things in a match when your opponent's trying to pressure you, throw you off your game. So you got to play someone after you've practiced for a bit, and maybe you're able to get some of what you want, but some of it isn't working quite the way you hoped, and so you need to rework that. You're not sure how to do it differently, and when you're playing in a match, and so you look up online players that are a little above your skill, or maybe way above your skill. Maybe they're top players, and you want to learn more about how they're executing it, what it looks like. And so maybe you get some ideas there, and you practice a little differently. Maybe you ask other people for help. And then you come back and you try it in friendlies again, maybe against the same person, maybe against a different person. But yeah, this is a loose way, this is a very simple form of how all this can work together. And I think these are the three central pillars of growth. I call it the triangle of improvement for this reason, because I think they're all really connected and they all benefit each other. But in case that example was a little too shallow for you, I also wanted to talk about how this could benefit higher level players as well. So in this example, your tech skill is already very solid. You can do pretty much whatever you want.
Nice.
But
I'm
you've
already
noticed that in
Ruby. Easy.
certain difficult situations, in matches or against particular players, that your tech skill is a little bit weaker. It's not what you expected it to be like. You're not doing exactly what you want. And you find this to be a common problem through analysis. So it wasn't a one time thing where you thought you played bad, it was something that happens a lot. And you want to go and do something about it. So what you can do is you can practice this situation specifically, because these are different situations. Maybe you're getting cornered and they're doing something or whatever. The opponent gets close to you. These are very common situations that throw you off your tech skill. And you practice the situation specifically with someone, or you practice by yourself doing the tech skill in a particular way for that situation. So let's take a more concrete example. Let's say you normally do your longest wave dashes, or you just don't really care about the length of your wave dashes. You're just doing them, and maybe so you get a range of wave dashes. But for this new closer position, this more particular position, what you want is you want a shorter one. So you can move backward, but you can still hit an opponent even if they move in just a little bit. So if you went too far, you wouldn't be able to hit them, but if you move back a little bit, you could hit them. And so you practice the new tech, and you try it out in friendlies, and you mostly focus on that when you're going into friendlies, right? So you're about to play someone, and you think, okay, in this match, I'm going to be looking for this position where they get close to me, and then I'm going to try and do that. And then, when you're sitting on the respawn platform between stocks or between games, you're like, oh, okay, well, how am I doing? Am I implementing the tech? One, and then two, how well is it working? And then you can get extra information from your analysis. You record the games, you go back and watch them. Was it working like I wanted it to? Are other players using different solutions in this situation? So this is how all of these things can work together in a very seamless way to help your growth. But I've really seen this process work for players of all skill levels, and it's often what I introduce players to through my coaching.
No gold.
But I do want to stress one thing. This will vary from individual to individual.
Oh, for this task. Oh.
Some people, for example, might enjoy analysis. Some people might enjoy playing others, which is the majority of people. Some people may enjoy doing two of these, but not one, or something like that. And another example is if some players play more slowly, they might need to practice more to build up their speed if they're getting overwhelmed by space animals, the faster characters. But if they are fast and they need to work more on their decision making, they may benefit from a greater focus on analysis or playing more versus floaties, characters that play slower. And again, coming back to the analogy of the triangle of improvement, the triangle will have three angles, but the size of the angles change. And so you'll also need to adjust how much emphasis you give each of these things based on your own personality, your own things you like, but also where you are in your growth process. So sometimes you'll need more practice, sometimes less. Usually you'll need some, but if you have ideas that you want to test out, you probably don't need to do as much analysis. And then you test it out, then you need to go back and learn and have some more ideas. So that's kind of how all of that works. But if you aren't feeling like doing one for a bit, that's okay. I think the main thing is to try and keep all of this in mind and find out how to make this work best for you rather than thinking it needs to be a certain way. But hopefully that's a decent framework for you for practice. And you need to know how to do all of that stuff. You need to know, for example, how much time to put into all of these things. And we've already talked about how that can vary for people, but what about the grand scheme? Like how many hours a day, right? And I think what I haven't seen a lot on this, but one of the best studies I have seen is a study of chess players, and it suggests that practice, which will include all the forms of practice here, is best done for 3 to 5 hours a day, and that's the best growth for those players. If you do more than that, I think the idea is you're worn out. And if you do less than that, you probably don't learn enough. You're not focusing enough. You're not building those connections in your mind. I think this is a good hard number range.
Oh, Emerald's pretty high,
it's still
right?
a large range, 3 to 5 hours. I found when I learned this range and started applying it that it took a lot of guesswork out, and it still felt pretty good for me. But, again, feel free to experiment. But you can also combine this with research I mentioned earlier on using 2 smaller sections of play instead of 1. So you could do, let's say you did 4 hours, you could do 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, or whenever you have time, and that can help it fit into your schedule a little bit better. And then, for that type of idea, you could do solo practice for one part, friendlies for another. Something else that I don't have on my script here that I am thinking of while talking to you is the idea of a cognitive refresh, which is if you're doing something and you take, like a 1 minute, a 5 minute break or something, that can help refresh your mind. So when you come back to something, you can focus better. So if you're feeling a little burnt out, maybe just take a few minutes away, then come back and see if like that's fine. But if you're feeling really burnt out, of course, you wanna stop. Let's see. But yeah, let's talk about the last part. And I think this is the most common thing. This is very common in the Melee community, how players practice. Most of what they do is just really, really long sessions. We're talking more than 5 hours of playing, usually one player or maybe people on unranked online or various players if you're at a tournament. You often don't have any goals when you're playing. And this is pretty tough for an improvement. I think this is why a lot of players get stuck. But I will say there are some good things about this. The good thing about this is you improve what I like to call your smash cardio, which allows you to keep going. So because tournaments often are for several hours or a whole day, especially offline ones, you need to make sure you're in good form. You need to make sure that you're not getting tired early. So playing long sessions can have a benefit for that reason. But the downside is you can still burn yourself out. You might not learn too much. And and I think I see this with a lot of players. You think you have so much time to adapt to your opponent because you're playing a long time, and so you might not change a habit until it's been exploited for like an hour or two. But when you're playing a tournament set, you only have 1 game, 2 games, maybe 3 at most, to really figure out what's going on and make an adjustment. But the sooner you can make that, the better. So changing the way you play against other people can help with this too. And I just want to call some attention to the normal way people practice and to bring some other things in. But yeah, so I think those are all of the main points that I could make about practice. But I wanted to bring in one more kind of unusual thing for people that have listened this far and listened to a lot of the ideas I brought here. And that's going to be visualization. So if you don't know what this means, visualization is basically the act of imagining yourself performing an action. So you would see your character and yourself, or maybe only yourself, performing things successfully. I mean, these could be wave dashes, these could be combos, whatever. And I think this can be a strange idea to some people, but it is a technique used by many successful athletes. And there's a pretty neat basketball study involving 3 free throws that some people may have heard about, which will support the idea of this actually working a little bit further. So in the study, they divide, I think, some professional level basketball players into 3 groups of people. One does regular practice where they physically throw free throws, and they just practice that. The second group does nothing. They don't practice or anything. The third group visualizes themselves throwing free throws and making all of them, but they don't physically throw any of the balls. So after a few weeks or so, the players compare their performance to all physically doing the free throw. And as you would expect, the people that didn't practice are doing worse than the players that physically threw free throws. They physically practiced. So that's not really surprising. Practice does help. But what's interesting is the visualizing group actually does about the same, or perhaps even a little bit better than the physically practicing group. And so I think this is a really strong, you can certainly, if you want to discount this, you certainly can, but I have found it kind of interesting in my own improvement process, and it kind of just helps me free form think of things too. But I think for a lot of people, if they don't have time to practice, like maybe you don't have 3 to 5 hours a day, but you have a little bit of idle time when you're driving or when you're walking between classes or you're waiting in a line at a store or something, and you would have some time to visualize something. And that is something that can kind of help you improve. And I think you can always try it, and if you don't like it, you don't have to do it, but I think this is something that is gaining popularity and more players are doing it, so there's no harm in trying it. It doesn't cost you anything. I encourage you to check it out. But that is... oh, and by the way, I should probably correct myself. When you're driving, I mean you're sitting at a red light, not when you're just driving down the interstate. You should probably pay attention to the road. Very important clarifier. But yeah, anyway... that's everything I have to recommend to you guys about practice. I'm pretty happy with everything I said to you guys here. I think this is going to be a really helpful video for a lot of people. and I think it can help you use your time more effectively to be stronger players. If you watched to the end, please let me know what you think of it, and thank you so much for making it to the end of this pretty wordy video. All right, PPMD signing out. Have a good day, gamers.
How do I just do the next one? More just like, all right, it is what it is. Not like I'm actively competing right now. Fudge! No! God dang it! This is so messed up, man. I don't want to play Peach Mart anymore. Oh, really? Okay, I see. The idea with Peach, then, is to air dodge low to the ground, if you can. God, wide, I shield it. Take this! That Cirrus play was a lot more evasive than Laud. There's got to be a better... I gotta have a better thing for when Peach backs up. Because that Nair's not cutting it. Okay. Is that combos? Alright. Cirrus definitely didn't do anything like that. Can I really not hit them out of that? Can't believe the Mewtwo King didn't work. Got hit by so many of these mix-ups today. Damn, I'm Emerald 1 actually.
Nice DI. Turnips are good for health. Yeah, I've been eating a lot of them. I hope they are. Man, they'll just go for it, huh? Stop down airing me, dude. Fudge. No, I knew he was coming too.
What? This one's hard.
Ooh, he tagged. Holy cow. Yeah. Fair enough. I think he was about to hit me there too.
Sorry.
Huh. I angled my shield away. No shield. Nice. I don't think Mart's supposed to get messed up by Peach on the stage, but you know. I have a hard time avoiding the moves. Alright, bye. Do I still play Falco? Yeah, not against Laud. Might be easier in some ways. At least I can control them a little better. I mean, I can probably control them fine with Marth. Yay, I got to do my thing. That Saturn got hecked up. No, please, not like this. I'm going to this top platform. Let me out. Worst fair of all time. Freaking! I didn't deserve that grab, but whatever. Nice. Let me out. It's fine, I'm out. I'm in. Not what I was hoping for. I think he wanted a shield. Nice. Where's my jump? Am I going to
Oh
G8?
my
No.
gosh, that was tough. Okay, new score. Okay. Let's see.
the reactor.
Still Emerald 1. I need 7 more points.
Well, that was embarrassing. Almost. Nice up tilt, dude. Oh, if I died of missing my up tilt. God. Alright.
みんな見ていてくれ。
Okay. I don't like that one.
Whoa, really?
I'm good.
No, why'd I roll? Nice.
Damn, that's crazy. I'm like right in the middle.
No, pfft. I saved him, no. Fair enough. Freaking. And I hold away. God.
Oh, it's a new high score. What was it before?
I don't know how he knew I didn't want a forward smash right there. I should have just let it rip. The stock would be very different right now.
3 points.